So my name's Kurt Schumacher. I'm a product manager and also a support engineer here at Monitorapp. And I'm going to be walking you through many different details about our Ion Cloud platform and specifically the service of our secure internet access. So I want to take a look at this picture right here. And this shows the three different types of services that we offer with the platform. And we're going to be looking at this one right here, secure internet access. Now, to be able to explain secure internet access, I'm also going to be explaining the agents that connect devices and clients and headquarters to this service. And to do that, that client involves a little bit of the secure remote access. However, I'm not going to be going very much into ZTNA today. That is a topic for the webinar that is next month. That being said, let's get started. So here's the structure for today's presentation. We're going to begin by talking about why you would actually need an SSE. And in our case, our product is called our SIA, which is our branding for that. Then we'll talk about the Ion Cloud SIA solution particularly and how it solves that problem. Then we'll be talking about how you connect endpoints. And then lastly, what is the secure internet access and what solutions are inside of it? Part 1, why you need an SSE. It is incredible to reflect on how much cloud computing has changed our lives since it was first offered by AWS in 2006. Its flexibility and opportunities have led to a transformation in the technology and business landscape. In fact, Gartner is predicting that, quote, more than 50% of enterprises will use industry cloud platforms by 2028 to accelerate their business initiatives. In 2028, most organizations will be leveraging cloud as a business necessity, end quote. And this was stated in a press release from November 2023. So if this is a trend that's only going to continue and working remotely and using things like VPNs and ZTNA are becoming more common, how is the security industry doing in terms of securing this new paradigm of business? Well, the answer isn't necessarily straightforward. Industries have started to quickly adapt in some regards. One of the most successful transfers of security technology from on-premise into the cloud has been with web application firewalls. And this made sense for as servers moved to new locations, the WAF should move with them to the cloud for better performance instead of being on-premise. Successful companies have shown that this model works very well. A good example would be Netflix, who uses AWS for nearly all of its computing, delivery, storage needs, including databases, content delivery networks, analytics, recommendation engines, video transcoding, and more. Hundreds of functions that in total use more than 100,000 server instances. And they are able to secure their production environment with cloud-based security products as well. Our platform also offers this type of protection with our website protection service, particularly with our WAP, which is the same thing as a WAF, but with added API and bot protection. But that is a topic for another time. The problem is that while protecting web servers is only half the picture for businesses to secure their company networks from vulnerabilities, and it is great that they have paid attention to securing their public-facing resources for customers, companies must also start to upgrade their internal network security to account for employee protection and cloud adoption. But unfortunately, this is an area that security has fallen behind. This lag of security protection for employees can be clearly seen with these specifics in malware attacks. Now, to give some context to these attacks about malware and ransomware, there was a joint study done by Stanford and TSE in 2022. And this reported that employee mistakes are what cause 88% of all data breach incidents for organizations. But actually, if you were to look into IBM's security study, they would say that that number is actually closer to 95%. So when it says that malware attacks reach almost 6 billion, or 24% of all breaches, or 66% of companies are hit by ransomware. Most often, the cause of this is because of employee mistakes or negligence. And while this is going on, companies are utilizing SaaS for their businesses more and more because it's easy to use and it's cost effective. However, this creates an even bigger attack surface for cyber threat actors to exploit. And I do like this statistic to show that this is growing, where it says companies with over 1,000 employees use over 150 different SaaS applications on average. And if you think about this, this makes sense because if you take Office 365, for example, it's an excellent tool for SaaS. Why would you want to install and maintain Word and Excel in all of your company's computers and keep track of all the files when employees can easily access the program through their web browser? Remote and hybrid work is also on the rise in conjunction with corporate cloud adoption. The security issue that we're facing is clearly stated at the bottom, where users, devices, applications, and data are leaving traditional data centers and offices, and they are now located outside the business boundary and control perimeter. Regardless, many companies are ignoring this, and they're sticking to an older IT paradigm where the issue of security is an internal versus external network problem, like the castle in this picture. It is believed that the headquarters, branches, co-location facilities, and remote workers using VPN are safe behind the company perimeter defenses, and these defenses are where the security stack resides. And if we are going to be fair, this model did work very well in the past. And the model started simply with firewalls here on the left, but as the internet evolved and attackers became more sophisticated, our defenses had to improve. So you start seeing things like intrusion prevention systems, data loss prevention, next generation firewalls, etc. And these were created and implemented into the defense of the network perimeter. This model on the right, while it was very useful before, it is still being used widely today. However, it's operating under an incorrect assumption that all the resources and the employees inside here are actually still located inside the network's trusted zone. Unfortunately, that's just not true anymore. This slide gives a good picture of what's going on here. So on the left, you can see an old topology of a business where the resources are located internally at this headquarters. So branches and external users rightly used private MPLS networks or VPN tunnels to access those resources. And if they needed access to the internet, they used backhauling to route back to this headquarters so they could have the protection of the security appliances located there at the perimeter. But as you can see here, the internal traffic in this model was 80%, where it would come to this headquarters and it would stay there. And only 20% of that traffic went to the headquarters, went through the security stack, and then went to the internet. But this no longer works in the modern network topology. Shown here on the right, external users are no longer accessing internal resources as much as they used to. The resources are located externally through the internet, like with private clouds, SaaS. So the tremendous amount of network inflow to the headquarters is overwhelming the security stack because they're no longer accessing the resources located at this facility. They're mostly going out to the internet. As it shows here, the internet traffic is now 80%, while the internal traffic is only 20%. So we can look at a more detailed picture of what's going on here in the next slide. So over here, we have the headquarters, we have some resources, and here's the security stack of appliances here that's being used by the organization. So this leads to 4 main problems. The first is the bottleneck of the massive amount of traffic being routed through this office gateway because of the remote workers seen here and the branches. And they're doing this because this is where the security appliances are located. But this makes connections slow. and the quality of service hard to maintain for things like video, voice, or HTTPS traffic. The second issue is that remote employees, probably frustrated with slow speeds or just being negligent, will decide to access their cloud services directly without any security controls. However, this substantially increases the chances of security incidences. So you can see this employee here, maybe they're at the airport, and using the VPN is just so slow that they decide to turn it off to be able to reach these resources. But now they're accessing the web without any of these security appliances behind him. The third is that using a VPN does not provide enough access control for users. It allows access for the entire internal network once a VPN connection is established and the users are only authenticated one time. So that would be over here, this person using the VPN. Lastly, many of the security appliances located here at the headquarters, such as if they were using an IPS, an IDS, or a DLP, those no longer even work for detecting security issues. This is because now the internet has been transitioning to HTTPS connections, and over 90% of all internet traffic is now encrypted. Therefore, the encrypted traffic cannot be inspected by these devices to begin with, so it flows through the network unimpeded. For these reasons and more, the network security model must continue to evolve. And this is done by moving the gateway and security solutions to the cloud, to what is known as an SSE, as seen here on the right. So let's take a look at this model on the right in more detail and why it's a better option for organizations today. Part 2, IonCloud's SIA solution. By using a security service edge, or SSE, the gateway and the security stack are located in the cloud. Users connect here to be authenticated, protected, access resources, and get routed to their destination. IonCloud's security service edge, what we call our SIA, or Secure Internet Access, solves the previous stated problems, and here we can easily see why. Number one, now there's no bottleneck at the headquarters. From branches and employees all coming into this one location, now they all access our security service edge at the closest and most efficient location. Number two, instead of users deciding to access the internet directly with no security in place, user devices can be required to connect to the SSE before accessing the web or other resources. This way, the same security policies are applied to every employee anywhere they might be in the world and at any time of the day. Number three, IonCloud uses ZTNA, giving much more granular control for how users can access the company networks, online resources, and programs, and it requires continuous authentication. Number four, the SSE platform also uses a modern security stack to improve safety. The problems of HTTPS traffic is solved, for IonCloud uses the Secure Web Gateway, which can decrypt HTTPS traffic for inspection and better monitoring. Okay, so far, the SIA that we've been talking about has been pictured as a nebulous cartoon cloud, as you can see at the top. But you may have been wondering, where are you literally connecting to when you're using this platform? Well, the edge locations are in one of 40 different internet data centers around the world, spanning 15 different countries. And this number will only grow as the platform matures. Users will be connected to the closest and most responsive edge location when using the service. Edge locations are also linked together. So once traffic reaches an edge location, it will be routed to other edge locations closest to the destination through our internal network. And that has been configured for performance. This is much faster than relying on ISPs to route information using their own BGP rules, which can be much more inefficient. This provides customers with better latency, redundancy, and also worldwide coverage. With that being said, I want to finish up this section with this graphic, which gives a simplified overview of what we've just discussed and what we are about to go into for more detail. The top part of the graphic is the Secure Internet Access Service. It starts on the left at the different locations and devices. Then, through an agent or a gateway, the user accesses Ion Cloud Edge through an encrypted tunnel. The traffic is then inspected by the different solutions the service has. Lastly, the traffic is then sent to the internet or SaaS applications the organization uses. Now, under this is the Secure Remote Access Service. This is the topic of next month's webinar. But similarly, you may have noticed that it also uses Zero Trust tunneling to the Ion Cloud Edge. This is because they both function using the same agent, also allowing these two services to work in unison. But now let's look at the agent and other ways of connecting endpoints to the Ion Cloud platform. Part 3, connecting endpoints. Ion Cloud SSE uses encrypted tunnels to get users to the edge locations. And to do so, the platform often uses the AI connector, which is an agent installed on devices. Now, in this graphic at the top, there are these little plug symbols here. These represent the agent that is installed on the company endpoints that handle the authentication and the encrypted connection to SIA. Here at the bottom, you can see the download screen for the types of endpoints you may have. It's compatible with computers, phones, tablets, and if you're using SRA, even servers. But for our case, just notice that it covers all the major operating systems: Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows. Once you download and install the program, you will enter the workspace name of your company. Employees will then use credentials provided by company administrators that created their accounts. These accounts will have specifically defined access to resources and web content and many different policies that can be applied to them. Seen here, this is where administrators can create users here in the SIA console. Users can be assigned roles, be added to groups, and have details about them included. If you don't want to create your users in the SIA console, you can also use third-party identity providers that can be integrated with our platform. Also, single sign-on can be used as well. So once the employee is logged in with the credentials, they only have to turn on the AI connector by pressing a button. It is also worth noting that for companies that supply devices to their employees, the AI connector button can also be disabled, and the device will be permanently connected anytime the device is powered on. Users can also check stats about their connection, such as how much traffic they have made, what edge server they're using, and the local IP address they have on the internal network. However, the agent not only encrypts your traffic and routes it to the best edge location, it also provides posture checks on devices to make sure that they meet organization-specified requirements before being permitted to access services. These posture check requirements can be configured in many different ways, as seen with the list here. These posture checks are not a one-time thing either. They are continuously performed with each transaction, and if any of the requirements are suddenly not met, the user will be blocked. Here's a screenshot showing how we cover all the major operating systems for applying posture checks. And here's a drop-down list that I took while I was making a posture policy for a Windows product. As you can see, I could do things like operating system version, device serial number, and these are applied very easily for specific users. While using agents is a great way to access the SIA, there is another option. If organizations want to route traffic from a specific location with multiple users to Ion Cloud, they can establish tunnels with the products they already have on-premise by using IPsec. The network solutions to do the routing could be a firewall or a router, etc. And the devices in that network would use it as a forward proxy so they can still get to the same protection of the SIA. As you can see here, this would be a device that uses IPsec, and we have a tunnel established to the Ion Cloud edge. Lastly, Ion Cloud will be releasing an agentless option soon, and this is called the application launcher. It will be a browser-based solution where you can access SaaS applications and private applications through the browser window. This will be especially useful if you have maybe a Linux operating system or an older, out-of-date Windows OS distribution. Also, it's very useful if you want to give third parties access to your resources, but they are reluctant to download your agent. So now that users are connected to the SSE, they will consistently use the same security policies that have been applied to them, and it does not matter where they are located or what device they are using, as long as the AI connector has been turned on. So now that employees have been safely connected to the SSE, I want to explain the security stack it has in more detail. Part 4, Secure Internet Access. There are 6 different security solutions available in the SIA: the Secure Web Gateway, Cloud Access Security Broker, Firewall as a Service, the Next Generation Deep Packet Inspection, and Advanced Threat Protection, and then lastly, the Remote Browser Isolation. And we're going to go through each one briefly. The first one to look at is the Secure Web Gateway, which keeps employees safe from online threats in a variety of ways. One of the most important aspects of the SWG was mentioned briefly earlier. It was stated that many previous security technologies, such as IPS, IDS, and DLP, have become much less successful in detecting problems because they are blind to encrypted traffic. The SWG overcomes this problem, however, by being able to decrypt and encrypt HTTPS traffic for inspection before forwarding it onto the network. Before the SWG, the next generation firewall was developed to try to mitigate this issue, but it is prohibitively expensive and also still does not solve the encrypted traffic issue. With the SWG HTTPS decryption capabilities, it increases the functionality of the security solution as a whole to do other functions as well. And let's take a look at a few of them. One of the most used SWG features is URL filtering, or the URL category filter. The SWG has information of over 100 million websites and studies new sites continuously by surfing the internet. Based on this information, it has summarized the websites into 70 different categories. So admin can easily apply a policy for each category, specifying whether to allow, detect, or block access to different types of sites. In the example shown, the policy blocks entertainment, download, and gambling sites. Also, it's possible to apply the policy during certain times. For example, only working hours, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. You can even be more specific for whom in your organization you're blocking. Here, it's only the engineering department that will follow this policy. There is still concern for category filters at times, and that is that new websites are created every day, and what if those are not blocked? Well, this isn't a problem because Ion Cloud is connected to our own threat intelligence system named AI Labs, and it's getting updates on this information almost in real time. AI Labs is such a robust threat intelligence platform that it is even used by VirusTotal for scanning files and sites. The next essential feature of the SWG is the anti-malware function. This is similar to antivirus, but the SWG works at the network-based proxy level. First, for the known malware sites, including phishing and spam sites, well, those will already have been blocked through the URL filter function of the SWG. However, What about for the case that a normal website has been compromised? IonCloud is still able to provide protection. So, for example, say a normal website has been compromised and malicious JavaScript has been injected into the packets of the site. Well, with the SWG's malware scanner, the malware contents will still be blocked automatically because the SWG is always inspecting the request and response content of traffic in real time. And this is whether the malicious contents are included or not. Also, the SWG has a very interesting function to block CNC connections. Here, CNC means command and control for a botnet. If a device has been compromised and turned into a zombie computer, it will try to access the CNC server of the attacker to get commands or receive additional controls. But since the SWG has been connected with AI Labs' threat intelligence system and is getting updates in real time, if the destination IP is part of our registered CIC list, then the SWG recognizes it and blocks the connection immediately. The next topic is data loss prevention. Companies often are concerned about the download or upload of contents containing personal information or critical information, such as revenue, customer lists, etc. Since SWG inspects all of the inbound and outbound data, including the attached file contents, it will provide a simple and easy solution for mitigating this. And you can do it without an additional DLP solution. You can block files based off keywords, file types, programs, etc. And it's very easy to set up. So now that we finished SWG, let's talk about the CASB platform. While the SWG is for web access, the cloud access security broker is specifically to control and monitor how users are interacting with SaaS products the company is using. It can be used to determine what users or groups can have access to and what they are allowed to do on those applications, such as file uploads or downloads. For example, here I'm creating a policy for my engineering group. Say they have a private Discord server, and this is for the department so that they can communicate about technical problems. And it spans multiple locations for easy collaboration. Now, while this is fine, I do not want to, and I don't want to block Discord for the group. I still want to diminish the risk of intellectual property loss. Therefore, for this department and this SaaS application, I am blocking file uploads. Another issue of using SaaS applications is that they lack visibility. People are often wondering who is using what resource and when. When the AI connector is linking identities to devices and inspecting the traffic, you can now see what is being used when and by whom. In this picture, I'm getting a summary of what apps are being used and how much traffic they are getting. I can look at specific SaaS if I choose to. Here I'm looking at Facebook, and I can see how much traffic and how many users per day are going there. And if I want, I can even see which users there were and how much traffic they specifically generated. So the next category is going to be the firewall as a service. And this allows granular control of your network, very similar to the way it would work in normal network settings. In this picture here, I'm setting up firewall rules for my network. Looking at this rule, I can see I am blocking all of the users in my organization from accessing connections to Myanmar. This solution functions just as any other firewall would, and it's intuitive to set up. The solution also becomes even more functional when used alongside the SRA, but again, that's a topic for another webinar. The following category I want to discuss is the next generation deep packet inspection. And while packet inspection is used in SWG and CASB, the reason we call it next generation is because it has additional functionality worth mentioning. Namely, that additional functionality is blocking applications and protocols on user devices. For example, oftentimes people will install VPNs to get around web restrictions of their institutions. whether it's schools, businesses, agencies, whatever. Next generation deep packet inspection stops this practice by noticing that VPN traffic is occurring. While users may be able to open a VPN program on their device, none of the traffic will actually be sent through the SIA, making the program useless and the traffic blocked. For an additional example, say I want to block a specific web browser for my employees. And in this case, I'm choosing Microsoft Edge web browser because maybe I think it has more vulnerabilities. On the left is the policy I made to block myself from using this browser. And on the right is the browser whenever I try and access a website. Again, I can open the program and I can try and use it, but all traffic to and from this program will be blocked. Okay, so second to last, we have ATP, or Advanced Threat Protection. ATP is a feature that is only available for enterprise tier subscriptions. It is used specifically when you have policies dealing with downloads and file extension types. So you can see here where I'm making an HTTP download file content policy to apply to users or groups. I can add ATP as an extra security measure. What this will do is inspect downloads at Ion Cloud before users can actually download them. ATP integrates AI and machine learning-based threat intelligence to detect new and variant threats and optimizing download policies so that security is improved even further. Static, dynamic, similarity, and behavior-based scans are done, and also verifying files in a sandbox. And other various techniques are used for malware analysis and detection. And this is used to inspect files before introducing them into your system. Our last solution of the service is also the one that was most recently released, and that is the remote browser isolation. As stated on the slide here, remote browser isolation is one of the most effective responses to targeted attacks that cannot be detected because it proactively isolates all the content in advance. It allows users to access the web in real time and without installing any additional programs because it fits inside the web browser screen that is already being used. Instead of the browser opening the traffic for a user, this traffic is instead opened in an isolated sandbox environment. The sandbox then pushes the pixels of the screen to the user. Here's an example of how it might be implemented. So here we have a user accessing the internet, and all the user's web traffic is automatically sent to Ion Cloud's edge closest to the access location, and it's inspected according to security rules present by the administrator. So say here we have a list of safe sites and malicious sites. Ion Cloud's SWG protects corporate networks by blocking dangerous websites and URLs in advance through predefined URL filtering technologies and only allowing access to sites that have been confirmed safe. So it's going to be one of these two. However, what if it's an unknown URL like this one? If it's an unknown URL, instead, the URL is run in an isolated cloud environment using RBI technology to protect users from malware. Sites with malicious content risk are deeply analyzed in a sandbox environment to identify and block harmful behavior. There are other ways to set policies for RBI2 besides just unknown URLs. For example, admin can determine specific URLs that the users will always access through RBI, no matter what the context is. Let's see what this feature looks like. Here's a screenshot of the RBI. As you can see, it looks just like normal web browsing, but you'll notice an extra bar in the GUI right here. While users do not get to choose if they will use the RBI or not, they will be aware that they are using it because they will see this new bar. It's great that users do not have to concern themselves with using the RBI or not. This is determined in the policies that the admin apply to them, and it is set up automatically. So wrapping up, it is key that businesses change to protect themselves from cyber threats and vulnerabilities in the modern business world. For the shift to cloud and remote technologies is not slowing down. And while companies believe that protecting their publicly facing resources is enough to secure their businesses, they are forgetting that it is actually employee error or negligence that most often causes cyber attacks. The internet is becoming an increasingly malicious place every day. As you can see here, more than 500,000 new malware are detected daily. 4 companies every minute become victims of ransomware. And the world now has over 1 billion malware programs. How does your organization plan on protecting itself? By utilizing Ion Cloud's platform, and specifically the SRA service to secure employees, companies can quickly and easily improve their security posture against advanced threats, and for a better price than any of our competitors. We offer the ability for organizations to set up same security policies regardless of their office size. We can give same security policies regardless of the location of your employees because we use our AI connector. We can give visibility into SaaS and private resource traffic. We also allow asset management because the AI connector registers users to devices and also makes sure that posture checks are happening. Another great aspect is that you can easily apply complex security policies from one console. And there's no need for physical appliances to install into a co-location facility or a server room because all of it exists on the cloud at our edge locations.